Good morning. Today is Monday, Parshas Achle Mois Kedoshim, Gimel Iyeh Tuvshim Pai Vov on Edge. Le'ilin Nishmas Reb Shaya ben Reb Moshe. Reb Shaya ben Reb Moshe, whose Yutzad is today. Go light a candle in his name. My name is Gershy Schwarcz, and I'm pleased to be a host on Edge.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.
Today, a fight at sea between America and Iran in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran shut the Strait of Hormuz again. Well, it's already closed, so okay, we'll talk about it more. And oil prices jumped. President Trump wants answers on 10 American nuclear scientists who've gone missing or died or were killed over the last 3 years. He says Iran might be behind it. Plus, how Israel is turning empty fish ponds into solar farms. And more, right here on Edge. Stay with me. But first, have you ever thought that when you need a loan to invest in your property, in your real estate, that you don't have to always go to the bank or go to a broker and wait until this and that? You can go to a direct lender like YS Capital Group, trusted, reliable, and the answer is yes. Call them today on 718-831-2168. Again, the number is 718-831-2168. Why YS Capital Group? Because I know that you have the ambition to invest in real estate, which is the best form of investment today. Real estate, okay? 718-831-2168 is your answer to get a direct loan. Fast approvals. Okay, there's no strings attached, no red tape and all that, and no closing costs, by the way. YS Capital Group is great. Call them. I know the team there. They're responsible, they're reliable, they'll answer your phone call. Tell them that you heard this ad on Edge, and maybe you'll get an even better deal and a secured rate. With today, unstable world today, and the rates all, you don't know. Ceasefire between America and Iran is almost broken, like I said, unstable. Over the weekend, American forces fired on an Iranian cargo ship in the Gulf of Oman and took it. The ship was called the Tuaska. It's almost 900 feet long, nearly as big as an aircraft carrier, might I say. The Iranian crew refused to stop after 6 hours of warnings. So, the U.S. Navy destroyer USS Schwarcz blew a hole in the ship's engine room and disabled it. Here you can hear them.
Prepare to subject you to disabling fire.
These are the warning shots that you just heard or saw, that the U.S. Navy destroyer, basically blew a hole in the ship's engine room and disabled it. And U.S. Marines boarded the ship and took custody. They even took a captain in custody who is actually an IRGC member. Iran answered right back. They closed the Strait of Hormuz again. Just 1 day earlier, Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi, who, by the way, was almost impeached by his own people because of what he said the strait was open for business. Less than 24 hours later, Iranian gunboats from the Revolutionary Guard, the IRGC, were firing on ships trying to pass through. A tanker was hit. A French ship was hit. 2 Indian ships were also fired at and forced to turn back. The current ceasefire is set to expire this Wednesday, April 22nd. And it is hanging by a thread. President Trump is not too thrilled. He wrote a long post on Truth Social about all of this. Here is what he said in his own words. He said Iran decided to fire bullets yesterday in the Strait of Hormuz, a total violation of our ceasefire agreement. He continues, many of them were aimed at a French ship and a freighter from the United Kingdom, freighter. That wasn't nice, was it? He continues, my representatives are going to Islamabad, Pakistan. They will be there tomorrow evening for negotiations. He continues, Iran recently announced that they were closing the strait, which is strange because our blockade has already closed it. That's exactly what I said in the beginning, by the way. That's my words, now his words. They are helping us without knowing. And they are the ones that lose with the closed passage. $500 million a day. And the United States loses nothing, he says. In fact, many ships are headed right now to the U.S. from there, Texas, Louisiana, and Alaska, to load up compliments of the IRGC. He means the oil that he confiscated from them, or he says they gave it to them, but I think they take. Always wanting to be the tough guy, he continues. Now he says, we are offering a very fair and reasonable deal, and I hope they take it. Well, I'm going to stop there a second and ask you, who? Who is going to take the deal? There is no clear indication of if there's a party at all on the other side. We don't know who's in charge. Because of this, he continues, because if they don't, the United States, now listen to this, is going to knock out every single power plant and every single bridge in Iran. No more Mr. Nice Guy, he continues. No more Mr. Nice Guy. They'll come down fast and they'll come down easy. If they don't take the deal, it will be my honor to do what has to be done, what should have been done to Iran by other presidents for the last 47 years. It is time for the Iran killing machine to end, is what he writes. That was President Trump. Okay, now, the big question. Does this meeting actually happen? Listen to this. Trump is sending a heavy delegation to Islamabad, Pakistan. Vice President J.D. Vance is expected to lead the American team along with the Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President's son-in-law Jared Kushner. J.D. Vance led the last round of talks, like you remember, with Iran, and he came out Motzei Shabbos saying that, bad news. A White House official confirmed he will again lead the delegation, this time even after Trump said earlier to a reporter that Vance would not make the trip due to security reasons. But here is a problem. Iran is saying no. Iran's state news agency, IRNA, reported Sunday that Iran is rejecting the second round of talks. IRNA said Iran's absence is because of what it called Washington's excessive demands, unrealistic expectations, complete surrender, inconsistent shifts in stance, repeated contradictions, and the ongoing naval blockade right now, which Iran considers a violation of the ceasefire. Iran's chief negotiator, Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf, said, quote, there is still a big distance between us, and he says Iran is still committed to talking, but not while the American blockade is still in place. So right now, as of this morning, it does not look positive. The American team is getting ready to fly to Islamabad. Pakistani authorities have already locked down the streets near the meeting site, but Iran has not confirmed they will show up. And at the same time, a senior Iranian military commander, Brigadier General Saeed Majid Mousavi, who runs the Revolutionary Guard Aerospace Force, told Iranian state media that Iran is already rebuilding its missile and drone launchers during the ceasefire. He said, quote, our speed in updating and refilling missile and drone launch platforms is even greater than before the war. So, this is where it stands. The Americans are going. The Iranians may not be going. And the ceasefire, well, might be a refire. Or continue to fire, whatever. It runs out in 2 days, basically. Russia. Now, where do they come in the story? I'll tell you how they come into the story. They say that they're ready to help with the talks. The Kremlin spokesman warned that the Gulf could go either way, and a wider war is still possible. Well, somebody remind him that they have their own war going on. Maybe they should deal with their talks first before they mix themselves in. This is exactly the case right now. Ukraine hit Russia very hard this morning. A massive wave of Ukrainian drones attacked a major Russian oil port and 2 Russian warships. The attack started last night and kept going into today. Ukrainian military intelligence sent the drones at Russian Black Sea Fleet in Sevastopol. Sevastopol is a Russian-occupied Crimea. 2 large Russian warships were hit. One is an $80 million landing ship called the Yamal. The other is a $70 million landing ship called the Nikolai Flinchenkov. Sorry about that. Russian sailors were likely also killed at the same attack. At the same time, Ukraine hit the Russian port city of Tuapse. I think it's called Tuapse, on the Black Sea. If it's Tuapse, whatever it is the name, I don't know how to pronounce the name. I do apologize. Now, they took out an oil refinery owned by Rosneft, a large Russian oil company. This is the second time in 4 days that Ukraine has hit the exact port. That port, Tuapse, let's call it Tuapse for now, okay? If it's not, then tell me. Handles nearly 10% of all the oil Russia ships by sea, and that number has been going up. Okay, now, breaking news just came in now. The United Arab Emirates, the UAE, has just arrested, I think, 27 members of an Iran-linked terror cell. Now, state news agency WAM, W-A-M, reports that the cell was plotting to break the country's stability. They were recruiting people in the country and trying to get into sensitive sites, likely to commit certain attacks or to disable certain very important facilities like power plants. That's what they said they wanted to do. This is a developing story right now. A senior Lebanese Sunni scholar, his name is Hassan Mouraib, said publicly that Lebanon has lost the war and needs to admit it. He said Iran is the cancer of Lebanon and must be removed. Interesting, huh? From Lebanon. He also said that shelters for people shelters for people displaced from southern Lebanon are being used as weapon depots for the Hezbollah terrorists. For the first time, Hezbollah is officially admitting they attacked an Israeli soldier. Well, they killed an Israeli soldier, really. An IDF unit in armored vehicles was hit by hidden explosives. It happened between the Lebanese villages of Taibeh Yeah, it's called Taibeh, and Dir Syrian. Dir Syrian, that's the name of the place. Now I know how to pronounce it. Thank you. Let's continue. The blast started a direct gun battle with Hezbollah terrorists between the IDF inside a restricted military zone. The IDF fired back fast, and they hit the Kalawiya area, and destroyed a rocket launcher that was loaded and pointed at northern Israel. The army told civilians in South Lebanon not to travel south as long as the fighting continues. Well, what kind of ceasefire is this? Before the ceasefire, the IDF killed more than 150 Hezbollah terrorists in a single day. That brought the total, remember that day, right? That brought the total to over 1,800 during the Operation Roaring Lion. A new operation has started inside Gaza, but it is not the IDF. Local armed groups that hate Hamas, anti-Hamas members, started heavy fighting across the whole area. A militia commander in Rafah announced the move today. The operation was declared yesterday, and heavy gunfighting and fighting began early this morning with grenades and rockets. Militia jeeps drove into the eastern part of Khan Yunis, and there was gunfire for hours in a battle against Hamas. The fighting spread to western Rafah and parts of Beit Lahia, which is in northern Gaza. These armed groups are taking more and more ground in the areas Hamas used to control. At the same time, Israel, the IDF, helped them and fired and struck one of the Hamas members that they basically kind of surrounded and helped them. At the same time as well, Israel and Lebanon are getting closer to a peace deal. Now listen to this. A second planning meeting is set for Tuesday or Wednesday that could extend the current ceasefire. Behind closed doors, Israel is unhappy with some very direct social media posts from President Trump. Talking about the strikes in Lebanon, Trump said Israel is a great ally of the US, whether people like Israel or not. Israeli officials say those words make it sound like Israel is a country people might not like, instead of a close friend. Turkey's foreign minister, Hakan Fidan, said today that Israel may be trying to make Turkey the next enemy after Iran. Top Turkish officials have said this before already, and I said it as well here on my On Edge platform, by the way, just saying. Now, a quick note on a regional project coming up. In June, Greece, Cyprus, Israel, and the United States will meet in Washington for a 3-to-1 Energy Corporation Summit. They're expected to agree on real start dates for the Greece-Cyprus-Israel electricity line. Remember we spoke about it a couple of months ago here on Edge? The East Med Neutral Gas Pipeline and the India Middle East Europe Corridor, basically. It's a great opportunity for business for many, many people, especially in Israel and especially here in the United States and Greece and all the countries I just mentioned. Argentinian President Javier Milei is back in Medina Sisrul. This is his third official visit since he took office. Javier went to the Kosel. Soon as his plane landed, his first stop was the Kosel Hamarovi to daven there. He's a Jew, by the way, just saying. He converted. After that, he met with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in Yerushalayim. The two leaders signed the Isaac Accords to strengthen their cooperation. Milei also said Argentina stands fully with Israel and the United States, and he supports the war against Iran. He also said that basically two parties could be true at the same time, but they cannot coexist. He meant the Palestinians and the Jews in Israel. Well, unfortunately, it's the truth. It is what it is. Have they managed to live peacefully side by side with each other? Those who don't want to live side by side with each other are never going to live side by side with peace. They're never going to exist. They're never going to allow the other side to exist. So, at least from the Palestinian side, I could say, I'm not Palestinian, so I don't know, but I can say from what I heard, that they don't want Israel to exist. Full stop, period. Those who do want are probably expelled from them. Like, for example, these anti-Hamasnikas who are fighting Hamas right now. They want peace and stability. Some, you heard the Sunni Muslim scholar before. What he said? He exactly said what many people are saying and scared to say. The United Nations peacekeeping force in Lebanon, known as UNIFIL, UNIFIL, was attacked by gunfire Saturday morning, Shabbos morning in the free. A French peacekeeper was killed. 3 more were seriously wounded. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and the French government strongly condemned this attack. Do we know who attacked them? Well, we all know. Hezbollah, obviously. They're not going to say it. A massive earthquake hit northern East Japan today. I think it also caused a tsunami. About 7.4 magnitude. A 10-foot tsunami followed, like I said. Japan's Prime Minister, Sane Takayashi, set up an emergency team right away. For safety, fighting boats... fighting boats. I'm constantly used to saying fighting and war and all that I forgot that there's other news, regular news happening in the world. For safety, fishing boats were called back to shore. Power was shut off in this area for safety reasons, obviously, and underground trains were completely stopped. Okay, Israel's Foreign Minister Gideon Sa'ar is officially apologizing to Christians around the world. This is because an Israeli soldier was caught on camera destroying a statue of Jesus in southern Lebanon. Sa'ar called it shameful and said that the soldier would be punished. The IDF also apologized to the Christian world, saying that the behavior is the opposite of what the army stands for. The Northern Command is investigating and helping fix this statue. Benjamin Netanyahu said that he will punish this soldier. As we reported on Edge on Friday, now this is actually very sad for me. I'm very sad to tell you that they found the body of the yeshiva bucher Avram Yeshaya Spiegel, Ulav Shulam, in the sea. He was just 17 or 17 and a half years old. He was learning in Shiat Aleph at Yeshivas Tifrach. Him and his brother both passed away following the drowning accident 10 days ago. 10 days. On Erev Shabbos Kodesh Pasha Shmini, Avram Spiegel, Ulav Shulam, and his older brother Yisachadav Spiegel were both swept away while swimming near the coast in Kiryat Tzanz in Netanya on the beach. The two brothers are the sons of Reb Shlomo Spiegel Shlita, the Rosh Hashiva of the Rosh Chabira, of the Spiegel Chabira, which is in Beis Yisrael neighborhood of Yerushalayim. Yisachadav Ulav Shulam, the Bucher, was pulled from the water in critical condition and passed away last Monday night. Avram Shulam was swept deeper into the water. Emergency teams were searching for him for 10 days, like we reported here on Friday. On Sunday afternoon, fishing boats off the coast of Herzliya came across a body in the sea. Zaka volunteers right away pulled the body from the water and recited Kaddish at the water's edge right away. A few hours later, the identity was confirmed. The parents of the and siblings were sitting Shiva for Yisachadav already when the news came, and they were supposed to get up from Shiva on Tuesday morning. Now they have to sit a second round of Shiva for the second loss. Thousands of people came to Avram Zlevaya on Sunday night, and the procession the procession left the family home in Ramat Shlomo, which is 11 p.m., and he was buried next to his older brother at Har Menichas. Okay. It's hard for me to say this news, but it's, sometimes I'm a news station, so I've got to say the news. Anyway, counter-terror police in London are investigating whether recent shul bombings, fire bombings, are connected to Iran. The most recent attack was by two teenagers aged 17 and 19. They threw a firebomb through the window of the Kenton United Synagogue, which is in Harrow in northwest London, next to Golders Green. The firebomb was filled with highly flammable liquid made to start a fire fast. Baruch Hashem, it only caused minor smoke damage. This is the third time in just 1 week that a Jewish site in London was attacked. Investigators are focused on a shadowy pro-Iran Islamic terror group called Ashab al-Yamin. The group claimed responsibility for one of the recent firebombs. Here's the day finance update. Oil prices jumped 6% today to around $96 a barrel. That's well above what the US government had forecasted earlier this year, about $79. Prices are expected to keep going up as the fight over the Strait of Hormuz continues, or the fight in Iran. Okay. In Israel, abandoned fish ponds are getting new life as floating solar farms. Fish farming has gotten too expensive for many kibbutzim. Water costs keep going up and imported fish is cheaper, so developers are filling the empty ponds with solar panels. The ponds already have roads, water access and power lines, so they're perfect for the job. Supporters say it could give Israel a big new source of clean energy and help kibbutzim that are struggling right now with power. But environmental groups obviously are worried. Those ponds have become an important rest stop for migrating birds flying through Israel. Conservationists say too many solar panels would wipe out one of the birds' last rest stops before they cross the desert. Some groups are asking for a compromise, part solar and part wetlands. In other news, 2 Israelis have now been officially charged with spying for Iran. The arrests happened last month. In March, police say that the two people were recruited online through Telegram. The main person charged is a 19-year-old. Investigators say he spent months talking with an Iranian agent and carried out specific missions to damage Israel's security. One of the two even agreed to travel to an enemy country for training. A major Iranian terror network was caught planning massive attacks against Yidden and important targets in Azerbaijan. The terror group was preparing to hit the Israeli embassy there. They also planned to attack a local shul in the capital city of Baku, and leaders of the Jewish community there were obviously targeted. They also targeted the Baku-Tbilisi Ceyhan oil pipeline, a massive, very important energy pipeline in that area. The terrorists were taking their orders directly from Iran, and they were run by a secret unit for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, Iran's main military terror branch. The Mossad, the IDF, and the Shin Bet exposed the network. Right before they managed to carry out what they wanted to carry out, Israeli security forces worked together with Azerbaijani authorities and shut down the plot a few weeks ago. Baruch Hashem. A Los Angeles woman was caught trying to smuggle weapons to Sudan for the Iranian government. Federal agents arrested 44-year-old Shamim Mafi at LAX airport on Shabbos evening. Mafi is described as a very wealthy businesswoman. She was born in Iran, and she became a legal U.S. resident during the Obama administration. U.S. Attorney Bill Eseli announced she is charged with arranging weapon sales on behalf of the Iranian regime. She arranged the sale of drones, bombs, bomb fuses, and millions of rounds of ammunition, all going between Iran and Sudan. President Trump says his administration is looking into the strange deaths and disappearances, and this is where my news gets interesting, of 10 American government workers. These workers were scientists and staff connected to the American nuclear and space programs. Some worked at major labs like Los Alamos. The cases happened over the last 3 years. This is why it's interesting. On Thursday, Trump told reporters he just had a meeting about it. He called it, quote, pretty serious stuff, he said. Hopefully coincidence, but some of them were very important people, and we are going to look at it. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says the government is working with the FBI to see if the cases are connected. Right now, people close to the investigation say they don't see any link yet. A former Energy Department official also said there is no proof of a plot. Still, the government is reviewing all the cases together. Nowadays, you never know. And like I said, you never know, because Protobyte is exactly that reason you need to know. And if you want to have a website, that's one thing Protobyte is good for. But if you want to have a program, well, that's another whole arena. Okay, so you need to know that there are people that are specialists in actually designing you custom-made software programs good for your business. You call 347-354-1237 and you get your business up and running on software. Okay, that's my point. So call them today on 347-354-1237. This is what Protobyte is good for. Now, if you don't trust me, go and find out. Call their clients. You can go to the website on proto-byte.com and check out what they've done so far. Mention my name, don't forget. 8 children. Now, that's a sick story, by the way. I don't think I'm going to be reporting it. Okay, I'll tell it to you, but just, it's just listener discretion advised before I just continue, okay? 8 children are dead after a man shot his own family in Louisiana. 10 people were shot in total across the city of Shreveport. This is one of the worst mass shootings in America in more than 2 years. The shooter was 31-year-old Shamar Elkins, a former Army National Guard soldier. Elkins went after his own family. He killed 7 of his own children and the cousin. He also shot 2 women. One was his wife, the mother of the children. She's in the hospital in critical condition. The children were between 1 and 14 years old. 1 and 14. Police are still working out the exact timeline. It happened either late Motzei Shabbos or early Sunday morning. They also are checking if the shootings were at 2 different homes, or 3 possible. After the shootings, Elkins tried to steal a car to escape. Police shot and killed him during the carjacking. Before the shooting, Elkins had talked about seeing demons and having dark thoughts, but just days before, he posed for a smiling picture with his family, with the children. How sickening is this? How sickening is this? Okay, let's transition back to some sort of a different story. Also some sad story, but at least we're talking about Kedisha. The Belzer Chassidim in Yerushalayim and HaKodesh and around the world are urgently davening for the Belzer Ruv Shlita. The Belzer Rebbe, urgently being asked to daven for him. Okay, the Rebbe's health has dropped sharply. He has a medical problem in his lungs that makes it very hard for him to breathe. He's been dealing with it for severe weakness for more than a week now. Because of his condition, the Rebbe has not come out to the main Bis Medrash for Ma'ariv or Sfiras U'oima. This past Shabbos, the tefillas were kept completely private. Now, I spoke to my Chavrisa, Rabbi Ari Yeringel. He's my Chavrisa from Yeshiva back in the days, years ago. And he obviously kindly sent me the information, Belzer Chused. His only public appearance was Friday. He said he came out for the bris of a great-grandson and stayed for the tish right afterwards. People at the tish saw that the roof was visibly in pain. His only son, Harav Aaron Mordche Rekeach Shlita, changed his schedule to stay close to his father. He cancelled planned Shabbos Esachtus with the community in Nof HaGalil. Now, on Sunday night, an urgent message went out to the Kol Bells hotline. The Gabuim asked Klal Yisrael to say Tehillim, to give tzedukah, and to awaken Rach Mishamayim so that the Rebbe should be healthy and strong again to greet Mashiach Tzedkani alive and happy and healthy. The official announcement calls on everyone to daven for Muran Harav Reb U'admer Reb Yisuch Dov ben Rebbetzin Miriam for a Refia Shalaima B'soich She'or Chol Yisrael. So please daven for him. And again, light a candle. Ask on his behalf. Tell bait Reb Shaila should be a shliach and ask, and obviously to Tzadik goes Hashem Zburach Mekayim, Kodesh Baruch Mekayim. Okay, and that is the news for you, my friends, today on Edge. Before we end, I want to obviously share that today is the Yutzat, like I said, of Reb Shaila ben Moshe. Shaila Kerestia, Gimel Iyah now. Right now, thousands of Yidden have traveled to Kerestia in Hungary to daven at his kaiva, obviously. Even more are waiting at the airport in Debrecen now to make it there tonight. The central Yutzat Seder takes place there later tonight in a large tent after. Well, today is Gimel Iyah, so obviously later tonight. It's already probably now. And my brother-in-law is also there now. He traveled there. Well, may all the tefillahs be answered, and Poil alle Gitte Yeshiyas. Reb Shai is a great shlich for Klal Yisrael, and especially, like I said, on his day, the Yutzat, what the chesed that he's done. Now, and for those who couldn't travel because of the wars, his brother, Reb Yehida Tzvi Steiner, Zeichet Tzaddik Kodesh Avrucha, is his brother. He's buried right here in Staten Island. People from all over America went to him instead. Just like Reb Shaila, just like he was a Baal Chesed, his brother was too, they say. So in his chus, many people opened soup kitchens, in Reb Shai ben Moshe, and also for his brother now, and basically hand out food to anyone who needs it. So may his chis protect Taka Klal Yisrael. And with that, my friends, let's not forget Kliga. To be a little bit Kliga, you need to know when to be Kliga. Obviously, now is the time to be Kliga about your communication with your businesses and with your associates. Okay, so when you talk to clients, you have many different messaging apps. When you talk to your team, you have Slack, you have Gmail, you have Google Suite, you have call me the different things, G Suite or G Meet, whatever, all that. I don't remember the names. WhatsApp, Messages, Telegram, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, and can't even finish. It's an entire list, in other words. So you can call Kliga for one inbox for all. And as well, they have Salesforces and all kinds of different CRM solutions for you. 845-335-3343. You can visit Kliger.com. That's without an E at the end. Kliger, okay? Arrive Express is your taxi force. Your taxi service, 845-622-1111 or 845-254-1111. Arrive Express. Now, my friends, I want to mention something to you. I am, Be'ezer Hashem Yisroach, making a course. My name is Gershy Schwarcz, and I'm making a course for those of you who are interested in sound engineering, if it has to do with studio, making music, how to use AI to your advantage when it comes to these things, production, this kind of thing. If you want to join my course, which is happening this Sunday, starting Sunday, a 4-week course, April 26th, okay? It's going to happen. I'm going to give you the address once you sign up, and, once I have the complete list of everyone attending. Baruch Hashem, we have some sign-ups, so very limited slots available. So if you want, call in right now to get your slot, and you will be able to go into a world and make business, make money, knowing what you're doing. This is why I'm giving this course. Okay, my friends, have yourselves a wonderful... Oh, you want to know how to sign up? You know my number, 845-671-1775. Just hit 1 and just say you want to join the course, and they'll tell you all about it. They'll give you a whole package, a brochure, and what you need to know about what's going to happen at that course. Okay, my friends, have yourselves a wonderful day. All the best. Hatzlacha Rabba.
Your daily report of the news of the last 24 hours, powered by Yiddish24, provided to you by The Click.